Okay, so let's go ahead and get things started. Open up your Unreal project and go to games, and you want to hit the top person, third person, sorry, top person, the third person view. And I'm just going to go ahead and name the project Training Bot. Go ahead and create that. So first thing we want to do is go into our content browser, look for characters. Then within characters, we want to right click within the folders and set up a new folder. We're going to name that Training Bot, or whatever name you prefer. That is the character or creature or character we're using. Add a new folder within that folder. It's called Anim. That's where we'll store all of our animations. And another folder called SKMs, which will stand for Skeletal Mesh. And go ahead and open that folder, and we're going to import the skeletal mesh for this character. So now I've got my skeletal mesh. It's going to import, and when you get to the FBX import options, you just want to make sure you have these settings checked. I believe this is all you really need. It'll create a physics assets for you. You're going to import all, and when you're exporting out your skeletal mesh from Maya, you just got to make sure you select the hierarchy of the joints and the mesh itself and export only those items so that nothing else gets imported in this process. So I'm just going to go ahead and save these 3 items right here. I'm not going to worry about my Lambert. It will get replaced with something else later on. But with these 3 skeleton mesh and the bot and everything set up, I'm going to go back out of this folder to my other folder here, and I'm going to go ahead and set up the animation blueprint. So right click in the open area, go to animations, in the animation blueprint. Once that's selected, we're going to look for the bot we just put in or the rig we just set up. I want to go ahead and name this one, or I'm going to go ahead and say Anim BP or bot Anim BP. So that's our animation blueprint. Go ahead and open that up. From here, I'm going to go ahead and set up all the parameters that we'll probably need for our state machines. So to get our state machine started, it's going to right click in the open grid area, type in state machine, and then want to add new state machine down here. And from there, we're going to connect this little guy up to the result. So this is the output of whatever the animation state machines will throw our way. Animation state machine, I'm going to name it to movement. Then open that, double click by opening it up. Then I want to add another state. When we get to this point, I want to name this locomotion. Oops, I'm going to go ahead and connect these, make sure these are connected. Then from locomotion, I want to add a state and call it jump start. From there, I want to drag down, add another state called jump idle. From there, another state called jump end. Then back to locomotion. And now we have those states. Go ahead and compile. And right now, since we have no animations, we can't implement none of this stuff just yet. So I'm going to go back out to the content browser, get the animations in, go in the folder here, look for my animations. On the export import option, you're just going to make sure your settings, or make sure your skeleton mesh, you find your actual skeleton, click on that. Pretty much the settings are pretty much default. Import all. And when you import, go ahead and save these out. You should have all your animations onto that skeleton. I'll go back out of this folder, go back into the animation blueprint, and now that we have our animations, we can just throw in our animations where they need to go. This goes into jump in. I can drag select inside to jump idle. And also you can double click within the state machines. This is jump start. And then grab the folder or the animation you need and drag it on top. Now that works. So for the locomotion, we don't want to drag our animations in. We actually want to make a blend space. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's jump right out of here. Inside our content browser, where our bot anim BP is, we're going to go up to animations, right click animations, then animation blend space 1D. Find our skeleton. I'm going to rename this to bot anim blend space, BS for blend space. And then in our blend space, we're going to navigate to find the horizontal axis under axis settings. I'm going to go change the name to speed. And it's going to change the grid down here to speed, as you can see right there. And then we're going to go ahead and set up our animations in our grid. Each grid is basically is divided into 4. You get grid divisions here, and this is the max value of the axis. We're going to go ahead and push ours to, let's say, 600, which will be the max speed that we're going to be looking for. And this is the when it's actually 0, so it's not moving. So at the idle, I'm going to put this right here. Then the walk, which is actually fairly slow, so I'm going to put you about right here. And then the run, let's say at 300. From 300 to 600, it'll just be the run speed. And we may need to change this value here later on if it doesn't fit right. But that's how we're setting up our blend space. And if you obviously hold control and move around inside the blend space, you'll see how you can adjust the animations. You can see it move. Alright, with our blend space set up, we want to jump out of there, go back into our blueprint. Within our blueprint, now we got our blend space here. We're going to drag that out. Now we have our blueprint. Oops. And now we can connect that up, or our blueprint, our blend space, and we can connect those. So the only issue now is we don't have our variable for speed, and this is where we need to go to our event graph and create a few things. So go ahead and click on event graph, and in your event graph, you are going to see try get pawn owner. From there, we are going to drag out of the return value and look for movement component. And then once we get our movement component, we're going to drag out the return value and type in is falling. Let's got all my caps on. Then once we get is falling, we're going to go ahead and promote that to we're going to go ahead and promote the return value to a variable that's going to be jumping. And then now we're going to get the speed. And so from the get movement component, we're going to drag from the return value, put it up here, and just type in velocity, or you want to say get velocity. And once you get the velocity node, you want to go and drag out of the velocity and get vector length. Get these guys out a little bit away. Once you get vector length, you want to drag out of there, promote that. The return value, you want to drag out of there to make another variable and call this one speed. So now this will allow us to have both our connect these with speed and our jumping variable set. So I'm going to go ahead and just compile and save. Now with this all set up, you can see that your character is idling on this side, and we're almost ready to go. So now what we got left is we got to set up our transitions from our locomotion to jump and then back. So we want to go ahead and jump back to the animation graph, go on our state machines, and now we're going to set up our transitions. So from locomotion to jump, we want to make sure that we want to click on our transition node, which is this little guy right here. Once this is clicked on, we want to grab our node jumping, or is jumping, or jump. This will indicate that the character is jumping, which will tell the blueprint to do that, to jump to this animation, which is a jump start. And then from the jump start, we want to go to the jump idle. So on this transition, we're just going to click on it. We're not going to double click, and just tab this first box up top. And that's basically saying once the animation is done, it'll go directly to the jump idle. And once it gets to the jump idle, one thing we do got to make sure in the jump start that it is not looping. It is not a looping animation. Just want to clarify that. The jump idle, however, is a looping animation, and it can stay looping. So we got to transition to our jump start to our jump idle. Now we do a jump idle to the jump end, and this is going to be slightly different. So before, when the character is no longer jumping, you still want to get the jumping variable, but before we connect it to the transition, we need to drag off of it and type in not boolean. And what that's going to do is basically say that it is not jumping, where before it was jumping, now it is not jumping. So transition from jump to the end. And then once it gets to the end, double check to make sure the animation isn't looping. It is now. It is not looping now. You want to go to the transition, and the same thing up top. You want to click on the very top node to make sure that it is not. It is playing. Once the animation is done, it's going straight to the locomotion. So in locomotion, we got our speed. We just need to connect our speed to here, and that's done. Compile. Now from here, everything is set up for the character to work in game except for one more thing. We got to now place the character actually in the game. So down here in the left side, you want to go to your third person folder, look for the blueprints, and then you're going to have your character pawn. So go ahead and double click on that to open it up. And the first thing we want to do is swap out the character meshes. So go ahead and character mesh on the upper right hand or left side, where mesh character mesh. And you want to look for mesh on the side of the details. You may have to unclick a few to get to it, but once you get there, you'll see that Quinn's in there. Open that up. You want to go to your skeleton bot that you have, skeleton mesh. You want to drop that in. Then you want to find the animal class that you put in here, and if it has something different, make sure it's on use animation blueprint. So now I want to use the animation blueprint. You want to find the blueprint that you made for your character, which ours is by anim BP. You want to sort of get the character to the right size, so we actually want to click on the character movement, double click on that, and you should see your little guy in his capsule. You just want to click on him, and you can press R on your keyboard for scale, or you can go up here, I believe this right here, to scale the character up, grab the middle, and get his head to about right in here. Doesn't need to be bigger than the capsule. The capsule is basically his collision cylinder. Whatever he hits and stuff will be based off of that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and compile. Now my character is about the right size. So now you can run, and if I'm using the controller and you barely press forward, you can see that the character is actually walking, and then you can transition to a run. So on a mouse and keyboard, you won't get that. You'll press down and it'll just automatically go into a run. So if you're using mouse and keyboard, we'll get that set up. The other thing we want to address is the jumping. The character jumps and then he sort of skateboards for a while. And then also on the jump up, could be a little bit more responsive. So what we're going to do is several things. I'm going to go to get out of here. I'm going to go to the animation to deal with the jumps first. Let's get to the jump end. I want to double click on the animation itself. And one thing we see, there's a lot of extra time. So when the character actually lands, it's taking a long time, almost 107 frames to get up. And normally you would have nodes or a notify, that would basically tell the engine that the character is moving forward or needs to go back into run like immediately, unless the player is not doing nothing, and it will just jump out of here and blend to the next thing. But since we don't have that set up or hooked up, we're just going to cut down the amount of time the animation is. So about frame 10, I'm going to right click and I want to remove from frame 12 to frame 116 or 105. And it's basically going to short down the animation. And normally you don't want to do this outside of your whatever you're animating. This is a good way to quickly test, get things working responsibly, and then going back and adjusting your animations to sort of fit these parameters. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and save that and close this file out. Go play it real quick, and now if we look at the jump, this is another thing we need to do. One more thing. So with dealing with the jump, we have to set up the blending times. And to do the blending times, we need to go back into the animation blueprint. Alright, so what we want to do to get the end jump to actually play, so you can see it, you want to go to your settings in your transition. You got these duration or blend settings. Your duration, I want to go ahead and just pop that to 0 from jump idle to jump end, and then do the same for this last portion as well. So they both just sort of happen really fast. So you see it, and you can adjust your and then you can adjust your animation to sort of go the correct way with it. So let me go ahead and just press play to show you what it looks like. Right now, obviously, it's sort of fast. And we can adjust our animation so it doesn't pop up so fast. So it's maybe closer to the idle. But this way, the jump happens and you get back to running as soon as you can, so you're less skating. And if you wanted to adjust the jump enter, you can do the same thing. Jump start. I'm just going to click on the animation itself. And right now the animation has him at 0 and he's sort of going down, and then he starts going up. So when he starts going up, I'm going to go ahead and just get 5. From frame 5 to 0, I'm going to remove that. So he's already just going up once the animation starts. So from there, I'm just going to go ahead and save that out. I'll play it. That feels a little bit better. But now let's get to the other thing that we need to talk about. If you're using a PC and you want to be able to see your walk, your run, and everything sort of happen at the same time or in different sequences, let's go ahead and go to the, oops, not the BP, wrong one. We're actually going to go to, you want to go to your pawn, your player pawn, and what you're going to do is we're going to set up an option to sort of shift. So we're going to right click in here, type in, I think it's left shift, whoops, and it's going to bring up this little thing here. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the character movement component, drag it to about right here, and then we are going to actually click on the movement component and look up max walk speed. Yes. Right now it's set up to 500, which is fine. I think we had ours at 600, so fine. We'll just leave it at 500 for now, which is okay. And now we're just going to drag out of here and go to set max. What's that? Max walk. Set max walk speed. And then when it gets pressed, it's pressed, it's going to be, let's say 300 or no 500. And then you either duplicate this or just come out of here again and type in a set, the same thing, set max walk speed, and then set this one, say my walk is around 100. And this is going to basically, when it's released, it's going to go back to 100, and then therefore my walk will play. So I'm going to go ahead and compile that. Press play, go into here with my mouse and keyboard now. This sort of concludes everything for getting this one set up for this character. If you got any questions or anything, just let me know. And that'll be it.